The Washington Post is facing fierce backlash tonight to so-called fact-checking. It's a story about South Carolina Senator Tim Scott's background as an ancestor of slaves. That ran under the headline, "Tim Scott often talks about his grandfather and cotton." There's more to that tale. Let's assemble tonight's Bream team for reaction to this story. Democratic strategist Kevin Walling, Manhattan Institute senior fellow Christopher Rufo, and retired Las Vegas Police Lieutenant Randy Sutton. Great to have all of you with us.
Thank you.
Shannon, good to be with you.
Okay, so Senator Scott would be a descendant. He has talked about his ancestors, though, about this. So Matt Whitlock tweets this. He says, "It's quite a choice to publish this when, A, your conclusion is that everything he said is true. B, you're arguing he had it hard, but not that hard in the Jim Crow South. And C, most will see the tweets and headline in front of the paywall and think you're suggesting that Scott's lying." Christopher.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, there's really no more dishonest section of the media than the fact checkers. They use and abuse the idea that they are neutral and objective observers to launder in their political preferences. And this case is absolutely egregious. In fact, this was the same kind of rhetoric that was coming from the Ku Klux Klan in the 1950s, that segregation and Jim Crow wasn't that bad. It's just astonishing that it's coming from the newspaper that used to be the newspaper of record, the Washington Post. It's a disgrace, and Glenn Kessler should absolutely apologize to Senator Scott.
Well, I mean, he used the words in this article that we decided to, quote, dig in to the background, all the census records and all these other things. And I'm thinking, why? I mean, I'm not sure that anybody thought that Tim Scott was lying about anything. And basically, he comes away from the article saying what he said is accurate. But Tim Scott, who, by the way, has been chosen by the Republicans to be the response to President Biden's joint address to Congress next week, he says this: "No amount of fact-checking or attacks from the mainstream media will ever take away from the struggles that my family overcame. We have to call out this casual racism against black Republicans when we see it. It's shameful, and we cannot allow it to go unnoticed." Kevin.
Yeah, Shannon, I couldn't agree more with Senators Tim Scott and Christopher on this panel. I mean, getting into a character debate with a man like Tim Scott is not a winning issue for anyone. He's a fundamentally honorable and decent man. And let's be clear, he is a black man from the Deep South that represents South Carolina. He is a descendant of slaves. He came up through working class poverty, as he's been openly discussing throughout his entirety in public life. Put himself through school, got himself elected to Congress, got himself appointed to the United States Senate, and reelected to the United States Senate. He's a fundamentally decent and honorable man, and someone I'm actually fearful as a Democrat to run against in 4 years because of his record of success in the United States Senate.
Yeah, his name is bubbling up out there in connection with 2024. Randy, this is a senator who last year was working on police reform, a number of things that people said that they were for. There was bipartisan support for it, and yet it was filibustered by Democrats. He says he's going to try again soon. I mean, it's a very important issue.
And Senator Scott has been on the forefront of this topic, literally trying to bring a bipartisan agenda together. But there is no appetite to do that because, unfortunately, the reality is that Washington Post and leftist politicians view Senator Scott as a traitor because he is black and because he doesn't follow their party line. And that the reality is that there should be consequences and accountability on the part of the media. You know, the same things that they're yelling for police to be accountable for and have consequences, there should be accountability and consequences for their type of reporting that is, in essence here, lies against this senator.
Well, and he has tried to reach across, and we talked about that there was bipartisan support for this bill that he had last year, and it had things that people were asking for from the left, things like bans on chokeholds and mandatory body cameras and other things that they'd really had conversations to try to put this piece together. Now, Mark Thiessen, writing an opinion piece in the Washington Post, says, okay, this is an opportunity now for President Biden. He says this, Biden says he wants unity. He can prove it by supporting Tim Scott on police reform. He says instead of taking Scott's outstretched hand, talking about last year, Senate Democrats voted to filibuster his bill using the very tool they now dismiss as a Jim Crow relic to stop a black senator from moving forward with police reform. Christopher, do you think President Biden will take this opportunity to bring together a coalition on such an important issue?
Yeah, I'm doubtful, and I think what we've seen in our history, especially the last 5 years, that the left uses racial identity as a tool, and as long as it's in their political interest, they will promote that message. But when there are people who share the identity characteristics that they would theoretically want to promote, like a Tim Scott or a Justice Thomas or an academic like Tom Sowell, suddenly the tune changes. And I think that it's a cynical use of race as a tool to achieve political ends. We should expose it for what it is. And we should absolutely make sure that the American people understand what's happening.
Kevin, final word to you on whether you think the two sides can get together on police reform.
Yeah, Shannon, I really hope so. You know, of course, the Attorney General had a meeting with the different police unions today, bringing them to the table. I'm hopeful that President Biden will call together all parties on this issue because, as you rightly point out, it's critically important with what we're seeing play out in this country.
All right, gentlemen, have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us before you start it.
Thank you.
You too, Shannon. Great
Thank
weekend.
you.
See you soon. Well, a bride walking down the aisle, but on an airplane? We'll explain. And the winner of a high school track meet is small, fast, and furry. All the viral video hotness for your Friday night is next.